Hey everyone, Mitchell Venus here once again. Thanks for being here, for choosing the channel. Thanks for watching. In the last video, we drew the male nose, right? And now we're going to draw the female nose. So without further ado, let's get to our work, to our drawing, all right? For those of you who are just joining, I always do this. It's a 20 by 30 canvas, okay? It's basically the size of a sheet of printer paper. I make these borders, these cross lines here so I can see the center of the canvas space or the sheet, whatever it is. I draw this little rectangle because I like to place the nose inside it. I keep everything very symmetrical. I draw a lot of straight lines here. For me, this really helps me keep things organized. So I can easily draw the nose right here in this specific case, right? In a more accurate, more precise way. When you have these lines marking out spaces, you can see the proportions of what you're going to draw much better. Like I've done in other videos, if you're just joining now, you'll see how this is going to help us. All right then, without further ado, let's get started on our nose. I'm going to make this rectangle a little smaller, I think, and since it's a female nose, her nose is smaller than the other model, the male model we did. So I think it looks prettier, more feminine and more delicate if we make it a little smaller than the male nose, okay? All right, let's get started. I use the center here to guide myself, okay? That's why the straight lines. And then I come in and start from the... Hold on, guys. Let me erase here. I think I made a white line. Okay. And from the straight lines, I use them to guide myself. Here. Oops, let me fix the opacity here. All right. This is the first layout, okay? So, but like I told you, even my layout, even my sketch, it's kind of clean, you know? Because I've already told you that I worked with inking. I did drawing inking for animation for a long time. 26 years, folks. Yeah. So even my layout is cleaner than it should be. Some people make things really sketchy, right? But not me. I like to, soon enough, I just go ahead and do it. I keep observing the shakes. See? There's the nostril here. I've got this nostril on the left side and on the right side, but you see that if you keep drawing it out, it forms an arc. And that's what you need to notice in the drawings, okay? I'll show you here. See? You've got it here, but if you keep drawing... Wow, that came out crooked, huh? That's ugly. If you keep drawing the line, see? It'll form an arc. All right? These are the things you need to notice. You have to see beyond just the drawing. If you do, you agree that if you make this arc down here, you make them more aligned with each other. Okay, so pay attention to the shape. Notice how far it goes or how far it can go. Like I said, with the nose. I'll show you again here. The nose also has those... I'm going to show you now, okay? The measurements here. Our model's name is Lindsay Wixon, if I'm not mistaken. Remember? I'm gonna... I take about the tip of the nose here. Oh, it's just that the photo's a little... The photo's actually crooked, right? Because her face is kind of tilted, like this. So I'm going to do it here with the lasso tool, just so you can take a look. Okay, like I did on the man's nose. Later, if you haven't seen the video, go check it out. Watch it. The same measurement from the tip of the nose is the same as the length. Pretty much. Let me darken it here, because there's... All right, let's suppose the measurement is about here. at the end of the top of the tip of the nose. So we put it here. See how it turned out? I'll even use the eraser here a little bit for you guys. The tip is here, okay? Let me, just a moment. Look, the tip of the nose is about here, right? The tip of the nose. It's the same measurement, see it? I don't measure here. Look, through this middle part of the nose, this, where the nostril starts here, no, it's where the arch is, okay? You saw that it's the same measurement. So you have these golden measurements here. So this helps you a lot. And that's what we're going to do here in a bit. Let me just fix this. Reference of art. Let me take this out so it doesn't get in my way. All right. So let's keep going here. Here you have the center of the nose. I'm just drawing this circle to help me get oriented, okay? Because on the male model, the male nose, it really had a rounded tip. You can see that hers isn't rounded. It's a little tip. It's rounded, but it's more triangular, see? But that's not a problem. You draw a circle here. This circle is just to help you get oriented. And then you make the measurement outside of this circle. See? Actually, it's more over here, like this. Now, as you can clearly observe from the evidence presented right here, it is exactly as I described. And right here, you just keep on measuring continuously. I think the tip comes up around here. You see? Up to here at the top. Lower it a little more. A little hard. Then I come over here. I'm going to duplicate it so you can see. I'm going to lower this a little bit here. But that is the exact size if you take a look. I come here. It's here. Here, her little nose really curves like this, right? You see, it doesn't have that. I didn't put that. John doesn't have it here, right? Which is the male model. But I added it. But here, I'm going to make an arc like this, really smooth. Let me remove this because it's getting in my way. And here, the center line helps us see the distance between one arc and the other. Okay. All right. So this here is our first layout. Is that right? Okay. That's it. Maybe I'll make it a little longer. Maybe, right here. I think it's too wide up here, right, guys? Let's close it up a bit more here. Okay. Let's close it up a bit more here. So here we have the eye socket. Here's our first layout. I think this marking already works as our first layout. Now let's move on to the second layout. You can see there's a really strong light intensity in the photo here with our model. So you almost don't have any volume marking, so to speak. It's very subtle. So let me decrease the thickness here. Okay. See? Just give me 1 second while I take a thorough look through all of these records and files right here to make absolutely sure that I have the most accurate and up-to-date information available for you at this very moment. And I think this nostril's too big. I'm going to make it a little smaller. And I'm going to make it even smaller. It's way too big. And I'm doing this, like I told you guys, I do one nostril, but I'm always keeping an eye on the other. I do one side of the element of the object, but if it's, let's say, symmetrical, right? If it has a mirrored side, then I keep an eye on the other side too. Okay. You can see that one nostril here inside her nostril is really, it's a much smaller little hole. Much smaller, like this. It's really a doll's nose, right? You can see it's really delicate. Then here, it has this bump here. It's like, it's a little flattened down here, right? Can you see that? Remember when I told you that shadow and light do the drawing? So that's what's happening here. It has this, I'm making the mark, but later I'll soften it a bit more. But it has this, it's flat. It has this flat part underneath it. See? And I'm going to close her nostril even more here because her little nose is really tiny. And rounder too. It doesn't have much of a tip. Much of a edge, right? It's rounder at the nostrils and also more closed. I'm drawing the right side here, but always keeping an eye on the left side. How is that possible, Michelle? You have to learn to look at things as a whole. Let's put it that way. Okay? It's through practice and observation that you'll get the hang of it. All right? So here we have this line, this little bit of volume at the tip. You see how it comes here, right? There's a bit of a bump here. This little nose here, it has this bump right here. I'm going to erase a little bit here. And then here comes the edge of the nostrils. And if you add a little more here, it's like a tiny triangle, a little triangle right here. Okay, I think it looks a little bit more rounded and chubbier right around this section here, like this when you look at it from this specific angle. And then we can move on to the next part of the process. To be honest, I think maybe I just need to try to squeeze it in a little bit more right here. This nostril here, it's a bit rounder, isn't it? Is that right? You know what else you can do to check the symmetry? What's flip it horizontally to see. And I think it looks good. Let me remove this here. Nee. This part here needs to be made a bit bigger, and it really helps. We have to be able to see things. That's right. I think here too, we can space it out a little more. Let's see if it's going to touch here. Yeah, it got a little... Let me see here. Okay. You can see there's very little shadow on our nose. There's a lot of light hitting it. So it reminds me of Snow White's nose. I don't know if you guys remember. Snow White's nose is really so, and Cinderella's too. From Disney, I mean. Okay? In cartoon. I'm talking about the cartoon. It's just, sometimes in Snow White's, it's just two nostrils, right? They draw them and that's it. And Cinderella's too. That's what I call resolution, okay? With just two lines, you can see the shape of the nose, whether it's a more delicate nose or a rougher one. That's what you need to learn when you draw, okay? How to resolve the drawing. Okay, let me erase the first layer. Let me mark it, right, folks? Layout 01. Here. Layout 02. I'm just going to remove all of the excess material here, because I'm going to clean up the wine. I'll repeat it here. Make another one. Look, there's barely a line. There's almost no. Because where you have shadow, that's where you put the line, you know? In a way, if I can put it like that. See? You can see it just has a little scribble. Up here too. Here, it almost has nothing, right? Pretty much here, look. But it's good for us to get our bearings. Okay? I think it's even thinner here. We put the rectangle here so we can... Oh no, it's this one here. Sorry. It's even closer together. I could redraw it, but I'm doing it this way to make it easier. If you're working on paper, you'll have to redraw it. It's that simple. Here, it's not that hard either, right, folks? All right. It's thinner, right? I think we've reached this point. Now, I'm going to just emphasize this a bit more here. On the line. Let me duplicate it here. always with a lot of subtlety, a lot of delicacy. Very slowly. The beauty is that we just accentuated a little bit. You can see it's just here under the nostril that it stands out more. Let's do it like this. A little bit so I can see here. And I'm going to erase the excess here. And it's very subtle. And it has this spot here, just to show that it's a nose, kind of triangular like this. All right. I'm going to exaggerate a little more here. Make it a bit extra. And here I smooth out the curve more. And then I start to thin out the blush. To soften it up, it gets lighter. You know why? Because there's light hitting it, right? There's a lot of light. So where there's a lot of light, we make the line thinner. Sometimes lines can make someone look older because if you put too many lines on the face, you end up making it look full of wrinkles. So that's what I meant about resolution that I mentioned to you. You have to learn how to solve the drawing with your lines, you know? Okay. All right, I think now we can move on to the specific volume here. I'm going to take a closer look at this. Erase this here. I'm going to remove this marking and leave it on the first layout to guide us. I think I'll leave it on 15% and we can go ahead and move on. Let's slightly lower the opacity here. There's a lot of light hitting this here. And we move on. Okay. Even though there's a lot of light later on for us to see. Look, I can even darken the photo a bit more here if I want to. So we can see a little better. Let's leave it like this so we can see a bit more. It's easier, right? But anyway, later on, we'll erase a little bit. All right? So just like we... Now, when we are working with the male nose, we want to add quite a bit more shadow right here on the sides. Because it is such a prominent and protruding feature of the face, you really need to give the clear impression of the depth on the sides of the nose here, okay? We are going to carefully blend this out as we come over here to this section. And let's lower in here. Let's make the shadow here more intense. I'm going to do that thing I did in the other drawings. That I did with the nose. I'm going to select here, isolate. About here. So we can add this little shadow underneath, right? Down here, there's a lot of shadow because the light is coming from above. Okay, so we go over this area here. Then we accentuate it a bit more in this. I don't even know what to call this little thing she has on her nose here, okay? It's a more flattened shape. There we go, right here. This way is good so it doesn't stand out too much. She has this little shadow on the side, like this. Always with a lot of subtlety, folks. A lot of subtlety because her little nose is really delicate. It's practically like a doll's, right? It's very feminine, very delicate. Okay? There's a bit of an exaggerated thing here on the side to define this tip. Now I'm going to add a little more shadow here. I'm going to isolate this part a bit, okay? That way we do it better. If you're working on paper, you'll figure it out. Don't worry, okay? That's how an artist is born. It's when you're under pressure to solve a problem. Okay. You're going to learn how to solve the problem. You'll learn how to fix your lines. That's how it is. You'll find your visual identity, the identity of your line work. Get it? Like I told you, before working with Photoshop, I worked with paper for a long time. A really long time. So you'll figure things out your own way, you know? Finding effective solutions for exactly what you specifically require. For what you need to do. Here we have a lot of shadow under the nostrils. Inside, sorry. I'm doing well. Slowly, folks, because that's how it has to be, okay? Because her little nose is really delicate and I don't want to mess it all up, you know? I'm going to isolate here too. I isolate this part here. I think it makes it easier to work on. Wow, it's really dark. I think I'm going to end up. I'm going to do this part separately here. This nostril separately, because otherwise it'll get in our way. Let's move this aside a little so I can see. I think it's good, huh? I think it's good. She has a really strong shadow right here underneath that connects like this. Look. And there's a bit of a shadow here too, you see? I'm going to add a bit more here, a little stronger. Okay? Let me just erase this a little bit here. Fix this little shadow here. Right here, like this. All right. And you have this eye socket right here. Really well defined. Here, it's really dark. Okay? I'm going to add another little shadow here. It's a shadow that kind of splits things up here, right? It separates the nostril from the other skin here, I guess you could say. There's a lot of shadow underneath here, right? There's a lot of shadow here under her nostril. We're slowly getting there, folks. We are definitely getting there. And now I'm going to carefully blend these two together right here. Relax. It's not going to stay this dark, okay? Here, right here, okay? Just like this. All right, and now let's just lighten this up a little bit here and see how it looks. Okay, I think that's enough shadow. Lower the opacity of the eraser here. Okay, here. And I think here we can. I'm going to isolate this part, like I often do here. Just isolate here. Add a little bit of light here, just a touch, and pick up a little. Yeah. Always do it slowly, very subtly. You see, folks? Yeah. We have to learn to be subtle. You can't just go all in at once. Otherwise, it won't look good. It'll end up kind of rough. Here, that's looking pretty good, right? Okay, now let's go ahead and add just a little bit of extra light right here on this specific part of the philtrum that comes out directly from the base of the nose. Right here, look. Do you see this light hitting here? This light that also comes out a little from here, which is the shape of the philtrum, right? Right into under the nostrils. Just highlight it a little more. You don't need to overdo it. It's just the nose we're focusing on. There, I think that's good. Now I'm gonna paint the nostrils. Leave the nostrils as they are. You see, it's just a little hole she has here, right? Here, I'm going to increase the opacity back to normal. Here. Let me change the brush. Okay. Let's erase the excess here. It's good up here. All right, everyone. Y'all are following along, right? You're able to see it because it's so light here, right? Can you see how light the brush is here? But anyway, now let's add the highlights. Let's use white here. Since her nose is already pretty light, I don't think we'll need much white. Just in certain spots, really. I'm gonna add a slight rim light here on the nostril, because I think it looks good. Okay. All right. And we're gonna put the highlight on the tip, which is what will bring the nose to life here. Wanna see? I need to adjust my monitor, folks, because I can't see. It's already pretty light, right? There's a light coming from here, like this, right from above, okay? She has a smooth nose, doesn't she? I'm gonna use the graphite here. I'm noticing that I need to add a bit more graphite here. Oops, looks like there's a here and here, right? To make it really symmetrical. Look, folks, I think we did it, right? What do y'all think? I'm going to take off a little of the excess graphite here, make it a bit more delicate. And I reduce the shading here. All right, really soften this area here. Let me just add here, there's a lot of light down here. So let's erase a little then here. Oh man, I messed something up. Hold on. Hey, I erased too much. Are you crazy? I'm gonna add a bit more shadow here. I think I erased too much. Okay. All right. Let me see here. What do y'all think? Let me just change the brush here because it was set to that pencil texture mode. It's gonna look really charming. Well, folks, I think sometimes when you mess with something too much, it just gets worse, right? I think we managed to get to a good result. What do y'all think? Let me adjust my monitor here for myself. Looks good, huh, folks? Let's see if it turned out well here. So, what do y'all think? Look, that's a top-notch little nose, huh? Let's compare it with one from our friend over there. Let me put it here in a little folder. And can we compare them? I think we can, right? Oh, it's up there. Just a moment. There's a lot going on, folks. A lot of lines here. So, just a moment. Okay. Here's our friends. I'm going to shrink it a little more. Remember when we did the male nose? Let me put it here. Just a moment. So here we have the male nose and the female nose. Look how cute. Hers turned out really delicate, very subtle. And his is more masculine, sharper, more intense, more with a more striking design. Let's put it that way. Okay. All right, folks. So we've reached the end of another video, another drawing we've done. I hope you all enjoyed it. Leave your comments, okay? Comment, share. I always forget to say that. Like the video, send in your questions, okay? That's what we're here for. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.